So about 6 years ago, I was on a road trip through the South. I was going from Philly to a comedy festival down in San Antonio. And on my way back, I stopped in New Orleans for a day, and I was really excited to finally see New Orleans. And when I was there, I went to a famous jazz club called Preservation Hall. And I loved it there. I had a great time. They sat me right next to the trombone player. And one of the songs they played was Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World. And it's a beautiful song, you won't know it, but for some reason I felt myself getting surprisingly very emotional listening to them play this song. And it's because it kind of took me back to a great memory from when I was in 4th grade. You see, when I was in 4th grade, that's when we as students could finally pick an instrument to play in the school band. And I chose to play the trombone for 2 reasons. The first reason was that there was this cute girl named Jessica, and she told me that she was going to play the saxophone. And I had heard that the saxophone players and the trombone players took lessons together. And the reason I didn't just also play the saxophone was that the buttons scared me. And the second reason I played trombone was that my dad is a phenomenal trombone player. He played in the Marine Corps band for a long time. He got to travel the country playing trombone. So I thought, I could do right by him by playing the trombone too. Now, in our elementary school, there was only 2 trombone players in the school. There was me and a 5th grader named Gina. And we were both terrible at this. Because trombone's a really hard instrument for a 4th grader to play. You have these little 4th grade arms, and you can't even reach far enough to hit a C note. But the good news was that both Gina and I were both terrible, so at least we had that union together. But then a few weeks before our first winter concert, Gina decides to quit the band, and now I'm the only trombone player in the school. And my band teacher is kind of worried about that. But then a week before our concert, there was a parent-teacher conference where my dad came and met my band teacher, and he mentioned that he played the trombone. So she goes, "Wait, would you like to play in the winter concert with the 4th graders?" And he's like, no, this is their thing, I don't want to take away from it. And she's like, "Please, will you play in the concert?" So he accepts, and when he comes home and he tells me about this, he actually seems kind of excited to be playing with me and with us. And I, put on a face and I acted excited too, but deep down I was devastated by this. I was totally embarrassed. I was already super nervous for this concert, and I don't want to be sitting in the front row with Jessica to my left and an adult man to my right. But then we get around to the concert, and it's just how I pictured it. It's Jessica here, it's my father right there. And we begin playing the first song, and my dad and I are immediately in a competition to see who can play the quietest. I'm playing quietly because I don't want people to hear the noises coming out of my trombone. My dad's playing quietly because he doesn't want to upstage a bunch of 9-year-olds. But we're both playing very quietly, and we get through the first song. The second song goes a little bit better. And the third song we play was What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. And for a second, I finally I stood back and I got to listen to my dad play, and he hits every note perfectly, and he transitions to each note perfectly, and it's very smooth and beautiful. And I looked out into the crowd, and I saw all the dads there supporting their children in the band. And sitting next to my dad, I realized just how lucky I was that I got to do this very special thing with him that he loved, that we got to share in that moment. And it actually was so special because not only did we get to play together then, but he played in every concert that we did for the next 5 years. For 5 years, there was 0 new trombone players. So we just kept inviting him back. And every year it was awesome. I always cherished it. It was never embarrassing to me. I really enjoyed it. So much so that when I got to high school and there was upperclassmen that played trombone, he no longer had to play with us anymore. So I ended up quitting after one semester, just because it wasn't as fun anymore. It felt like there was something missing. So then, flash forward to 6 years later, when I'm in New Orleans, listening to these guys play What a Wonderful World, it just transformed me back into being fourth grade Ryan, and being really grateful that I got to have those moments with my dad. And when I got back home, I told my dad all about it, and he was so excited for me, and we got to share that. And then I ran up to our attic, and I found that they had kept my trombone this whole time. So every once in a while, my dad and I will get that itch, and we'll bring out our trombones, and you open up the case, and you smell that sweet brass smell, and you put the slide and the horn together, and you just hear all the familiar sounds. And as I begin playing, I'm always reminded of how terrible I am. But he hits every note perfectly, and that's the fun part for me.